Welcome in, everybody, to another deep dive. This time, we're diving deep into a book called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of this one.
Yeah,
Uh,
written by Joseph Murphy. And basically, this book claims to hold like all the answers, right?
Yeah.
To why some people just seem to be like successful and everything works out for them. And
hmm
then other people kind of struggle. And it's just a very intriguing premise, I think.
Absolutely. It's like, why do good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people?
Right.
This book claims to know the answer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, some of the questions that are posed in this book, and we're going to kind of dive into all this, are like, why do seemingly good people suffer,
Yeah.
while others thrive?
Yeah.
How can we use our subconscious mind, which is really what this whole book is about,
Yeah.
to kind of heal ourselves and achieve our goals? What is the secret to effective prayer
Interesting.
and getting the answers we seek? So, really kind of big questions.
Huge questions.
Yeah.
Really relevant questions.
Very, very relevant. And luckily, we have our expert here who's, I don't know how many times you've read this book.
I've read this book a few times.
A few times. I'm not even going to ask how many.
I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah, it's a lot. So we're going to unpack some of these concepts together
Right.
and really look at, how we can use this in our everyday lives, because this isn't just some, theoretical thing. This is about practical application.
Absolutely.
Right. So one of the things that this book starts out with, which I thought was so fascinating, is the fact that Murphy talks about the subconscious mind as being like a miracle worker.
Yeah. He makes some bold claims.
Bold claims,
Well,
like huge claims.
that it really does hold the key to, creating miracles in our lives.
Yeah.
And one of the things, and this is always, I always kind of preface this, is that he talks about an experience that he had where he healed himself from a sarcoma
Right.
through using the techniques in this book. Now, I always want to say that, this is his experience.
Yeah. It's not a guarantee for everybody.
No, it's anecdotal.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
always have to say that, but it's still pretty incredible.
It is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the core idea here, and this is really what he kind of comes back to over and over again, is that your thoughts create your reality.
Yeah.
And I think the phrase that he uses, and I love this, is as a person thinketh in his subconscious mind, so is he.
Yeah, it's almost biblical, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like a proverb.
It really is. It really is. And it's so true because I think we all kind of have an inkling of this, right?
Yeah.
We know that our thoughts have power.
Yeah.
But I think what this book does is it really delves deep into how much power
Yeah,
they actually have.
It's about becoming conscious of those thoughts, right?
Right.
Because so often they just kind of bubble under the surface.
Right. Exactly. So if we can tap into that power, right, and really shape our subconscious thoughts, I mean, the possibilities are kind of endless.
Oh, it's limitless.
Limitless,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But how do we do that?
How do we get there?
That's the question. Like, it feels a little bit, like you're trying to catch smoke or something. Like, how do we actually access and influence this part of ourselves that feels so deep and hidden?
It's the mystery of the mind, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. So I'm curious, like, how does Murphy address that in the book? What are some of the things that he talks about?
Well, he talks about some concrete things,
Yeah.
like visualization,
Okay.
like actually taking the time and creating those mental pictures in your mind.
Okay.
He talks about positive affirmations,
Right.
these positive statements that you can use to kind of imprint these things in your mind.
And really kind of impress them upon the subconscious.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he also talks about, which I think this is crucial, the connection between our conscious mind
hmm
and our subconscious mind,
Yeah.
that they don't operate in isolation.
Right. No, they have to work together.
Right. And that when we can actually get them to work in harmony, that's when the magic really starts to happen.
That's where the miracles happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and what's so interesting, like, this book promises that by reading this book carefully and applying its techniques, you can experience healing, freedom, happiness, and peace of mind.
Well, who wouldn't want that? Sign me up. I mean, that's the goal, isn't it? For all of us.
It is. It is. But, you were talking about, the positive affirmations and the visualization and all that.
Uh-huh.
Wouldn't it be easier if there was like a more direct line of communication?
Yeah.
Right?
Like a bat phone to the subconscious?
Yeah, exactly. Like if you could just be like, hey, subconscious,
Says my list.
boom, this is what I want, make it happen.
Exactly.
But, it's not quite that simple, is it?
No, it's not that simple. But, it's interesting. He actually talks about this
Okay.
in terms of prayer. So he presents prayer not as like a religious practice, but actually as a practical tool for tapping into your subconscious.
Oh, wow. So, okay, I'm with you. So instead of like, dear God, please make this happen,
Yeah.
right?
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, 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 no,
Yeah.
not at all. But it's more about like
Getting specific,
specific, clear.
What do I want? How do I want it?
Yeah.
And when do I want it?
So it's not just about pleading for help. It's about being very intentional about
This is the order.
exactly.
This is what I want.
And what I found so fascinating about that is, a lot of people say, oh, my prayers aren't answered. My prayers aren't answered. And what Murphy's saying is that, well, it might not be that, God or whoever isn't listening.
Yeah.
Right? It's that you're not praying.
Effectively.
Effectively.
Right. It's about the how, not the who.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So, okay, so then this kind of brings up another question that I think is on a lot of people's minds when we talk about the power of the subconscious, which is like, okay, if our subconscious is so powerful,
Yes.
why do we experience negative outcomes?
That's a really good question. Yeah. Why do bad things happen to good people? Why do we self-sabotage?
Exactly. It's like, and we're not doing it consciously.
Yeah, no. If we were doing it consciously, then we'd stop.
Right. We wouldn't do it. Right. So what's the explanation there?
Well, here's where he talks about this thing called the law of belief. So he says our subconscious responds to what we believe,
Okay.
whether it's true or beneficial.
Regardless. Okay.
He gives this example of a professor that desperately wanted perfect health. But the professor lacked the, quote, technique, end quote, to change his mental patterns and beliefs. So even though he desired this perfect health,
He couldn't quite get there.
he couldn't quite get there because subconsciously he still felt that, he was destined for this.
Oh, wow. So it's almost like even if we consciously want something, our subconscious beliefs might be working against us.
Absolutely. And he says that a lot, and that's a big part of what this book is about is, we have these limiting beliefs.
Mm.
And it's not until we can identify them
Yes.
that we can actually start to change them.
So, think about it, for yourself, for me. What limiting beliefs might we be holding on to?
Oh, there's so many. So many.
I know, right?
I mean, we could probably do a whole deep dive just on that.
Exactly. That are preventing us from actually achieving what we want in our life.
Right? And we don't even realize it.
Right.
It's like they're operating in the shadow.
It's the shadow self.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So it's not enough to just wish for something.
Right.
Right. We really have to look at, okay, what are the beliefs that are underneath that?
What's going on in the basement of our minds?
Yes. Exactly. And do they align with what we're actually trying to create?
Yeah, we have to get congruent.
Yes. Oh, I love that. We have to get congruent. Okay, so we've kind of laid the groundwork here.
Yeah. Right.
We've set the stage. We've set the stage. Our subconscious mind,
Powerful.
very powerful.
Yeah.
But we have to identify these limiting beliefs that we're carrying around. So the next question is, how do we actually do that?
How do we dig them up?
Right? How do we unearth these things, and then how do we reprogram them?
How do we change the narrative?
Exactly. So we're going to dive into all that and more.
Let's do it.
Stay tuned.
Oh.
Okay, so we've established like our subconscious beliefs. They can either, make or break our efforts.
It's true.
Right. It's like having this really powerful engine, right?
Yeah.
But we're driving around with the parking brake on. So how do we even begin to identify these hidden beliefs that might be like sabotaging us?
Well, he suggests you have to look inward.
Okay.
You have to examine those recurring patterns and behaviors,
Okay.
especially those that lead to those unwanted outcomes.
Right.
So look at what you're doing, what you're not doing.
So, like, for example, so let's say somebody is constantly procrastinating.
Right. Classic example.
Right. A very common thing.
Yeah.
So what would be a belief underneath that might be driving that behavior?
Well, it could be a fear of failure.
Okay.
Or maybe a belief that you're not capable enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we all kind of have that, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Where it's like, we want to go for it, but then we start coming up with all these excuses.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And it's not just laziness, right?
No.
It's a fear.
It's a deeper thing.
Yeah.
It's like a protection mechanism almost.
Okay, so let's say we've kind of gone through that process. We've identified, okay, this is the belief that's really kind of holding me back.
Yeah.
How do we actually reprogram it? Like, what are the steps?
Well, he talks about this idea of visualization, right?
Okay.
And this isn't just wishful thinking.
Okay.
This is actually creating vivid mental pictures in your mind of yourself already embodying the desired outcome.
Okay.
So let's say you're afraid of public speaking.
Uh-huh.
You would visualize yourself standing on a stage, confidently delivering this amazing presentation, feeling that energy from the audience.
So it's like exposing our subconscious over and over again to this
Its
new,
desired
its
outcome.
desired outcome, right?
Yeah,
Almost like creating a new groove in a record.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's where I guess affirmations come in, right?
Right. So with the affirmations, you're using these positive statements
Okay.
and you're repeating them, right?
Mm-hmm.
To kind of feed your subconscious
Okay.
this new information, right?
Okay.
So if you're trying to overcome a lack of self-confidence, you might say things like, I am capable, or I am deserving of success.
But doesn't that feel kind of weird? Like, if you're saying something that you don't actually believe, like, does that really work?
Well, here's the thing. He says the subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between what's real and what's imagined. So even if you initially feel like you're just saying these words,
Yeah.
what you're doing is you're planting these seeds of belief
Okay.
that can grow into reality.
So it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, but in reverse.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. You're replacing those negative thought patterns.
Right. So instead of focusing on like, oh, I can't do this. Oh, I'm not good enough.
Yes.
You're actively feeding it something positive.
You're feeding it those positive, those powerful beliefs.
Got it. Okay, so this sounds like a lot of work. Like, is this something that we just do once and then it's fixed? Or is this like an ongoing practice?
He emphasizes that this is a journey.
Okay.
It's not a quick fix.
Right.
It's about making a conscious choice
Okay.
to shift your focus.
So it's not just about willpower.
No, it's about understanding and working with your subconscious,
Okay.
not trying to force it.
Yeah. Because I think that's where a lot of people get stuck.
Right. They think, I just need to try harder. But, it's about being gentle with yourself, too.
So there's a real art to this.
There is.
This interplay between
Yeah.
our conscious
Yeah.
and subconscious.
That's a dance.
But if we can get it right, the possibilities are, it's mind-blowing.
Oh, absolutely. It's limitless.
Limitless, right. Okay, so this is all great in theory, but does Murphy offer any, real-world examples of this actually working? Are there stories of people who have successfully used these techniques to transform their lives?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
He gives tons of anecdotes in this book
Okay.
of people who have used these techniques, to overcome illness,
Okay.
to achieve financial success,
Uh-huh.
to find fulfilling relationships.
So it's not just about, airy-fairy woo-woo stuff. There's actual evidence that this stuff can work.
It's practical. Yeah, it's real-world stuff.
That's inspiring, but I'm sure it's not all sunshine and roses.
Of course not.
Right. Are there any potential pitfalls or challenges that people might encounter along the way?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
One common one is resistance.
Okay.
Resistance from the subconscious itself.
Okay.
Remember, it's been running on autopilot for so long,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't necessarily want to change.
Right.
So you might experience those doubts, those setbacks. You might even fall back into those old negative patterns.
Yeah. It's like it's trying to pull you back in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's comfortable with what it knows.
Right.
Change can be scary.
So what's the key to overcoming that resistance? Is it just about willpower and pushing through?
It's more about understanding that this is a process, right?
Okay.
And it takes time. And you're not going to get it right all the time,
Okay.
So be patient, be persistent.
So it's even if you have a setback, don't just throw in the towel.
Don't give up. Yeah, it's like anything else.
Right. It's like learning a new skill.
Exactly. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to stumble.
But the key is to keep going.
The key is to just get back up.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked about the power of the subconscious.
Powerful. Yeah.
We've talked about how to identify those limiting beliefs.
Ooh, yeah.
We've talked about how to reprogram those beliefs.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to shift gears a little bit and talk about something that I think is really interesting,
Okay.
which is, if we could truly reprogram our subconscious beliefs,
Yeah.
what would be the first thing that you would change to create a more fulfilling life? What comes to mind for you?
Oh, that's a good question. I would have to say releasing those beliefs that limit my potential.
Okay.
The ones that are holding me back
Yeah.
from pursuing my passions, my purpose.
Yeah, it's like letting go of those self-imposed limitations and really embracing the full spectrum of what we're capable of.
Exactly. Because we're all capable of so much more.
But how do we actually go about releasing those limiting beliefs? Like, is it just a matter of deciding to let them go?
It's more than that. It's about acknowledging them first.
Okay.
Seeing them for what they are,
Okay.
and then consciously choosing to challenge their validity.
Okay. So it's like holding up a mirror to those beliefs.
Yes, exactly.
And seeing them for what they truly are, right?
Yeah.
Which is often illusions or distorted perceptions that we've been carrying around for who knows how long.
Yeah. We've inherited them. We've adopted them. They're not even ours.
Right.
Sometimes.
Right. And so once we see them clearly, we can choose whether we want to keep holding on to them.
Exactly. It's a choice.
And that's where the real transformation begins, right?
That's where the magic happens, yeah.
When we consciously choose to replace those limiting beliefs with empowering ones, right?
Yes.
It's like we're rewiring our internal circuitry,
Yeah.
creating new pathways
Absolutely.
for growth and fulfillment.
We got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's about becoming the architects of our own minds.
Yes.
Right.
I love that.
Consciously shaping the beliefs
Yeah.
that ultimately will shape our experiences.
Absolutely.
Powerful stuff.
It is powerful stuff.
It is. And I imagine it takes a lot of courage and dedication to really embark on this journey of self-transformation.
It does. It's not easy,
Right.
but it's so worth it.
Because when we free ourselves from those shackles of those limiting beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
it's like a whole new world opens up.
Oh, the possibilities are endless.
Endless, right.
Yeah.
I love that. It's almost like, we've been handed this incredible blueprint for our minds, right? But it's up to us to decide what we're going to build with it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like we're the architects of our own reality.
And just like with any blueprint, there are going to be times when, we need to make adjustments or even like tear down some of those old structures that no longer serve us.
Exactly. You got to get rid of the things that are in the way.
So this isn't just like a one-time fix. It's an ongoing process of self-discovery and refinement.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's a lifelong journey.
This deep dive has really shifted my perspective. I used to think that, our subconscious was kind of this mysterious force that we had little control over. But it seems like we have a lot more agency than I realized.
We do. We have a lot more power than we think.
And that's incredibly empowering, right?
It is. It's like realizing that you're not just a puppet.
It makes you realize that we're not just victims of circumstance or predetermined destinies, right?
Right. Like we actually have the power to shape our own realities.
Exactly. By understanding the power of our subconscious, we can become more conscious creators of our own lives.
Yeah, exactly. We get to choose our thoughts, our beliefs, our actions. And when we do that, we create a reality that's aligned with what we truly want.
This has been such an incredible deep dive. I feel like we've only just scratched the surface of this topic. But it's definitely given me a lot to think about and, more importantly, a lot to work with.
Yeah, it's definitely a deep well of information.
And I encourage all of our listeners, if this is something that resonates with you, to explore it further on your own. This book, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, it's a wealth of practical wisdom and techniques.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not just theory, it's practical stuff you can apply in your everyday life.
Yeah. And it can really help you, unlock your potential, create a life that's more fulfilling, more joyful, more purposeful.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with one final thought to ponder. If you could reprogram your subconscious beliefs, what would be the first thing you would change to create a more fulfilling life for yourself?
It's a big question, Take some time to really think about it.
It is a big question,
Yeah.
but it's a really important one. And remember, the power to create the life you desire, it lies within you. All you have to do is unlock it.
Exactly.
Until next time, happy diving.